When my daughter Sophia told me to pack your things and leave, this is my money now, I felt my world collapse. 3 days later, I was sitting across from attorney James Morrison in downtown Chicago, discovering that my supposedly devoted husband had orchestrated the most brilliant chess game of his life. Sophia was about to learn that sometimes the silent player holds all the winning cards. If you're watching this, subscribe and tell me where you're from in the comments. Let me tell you how I went from a desperate widow to the woman who changed everything. Because honey, this story has more plot twists than a Hollywood thriller. 2 months ago, I was Eleanor Drake, faithful wife of 41 years, and mother to one spectacularly ungrateful daughter. When Thomas died suddenly from a stroke at 69, I thought my entire existence was crumbling. Sophia appeared during my grief like a vulture in Prada, cooing about how devastating this must be for me. "Mom, you simply cannot manage this enormous estate alone," she said, her voice drenched in false sympathy. "The maintenance, the memories, the responsibilities, it's unhealthy for someone your age." I should have recognized the calculation behind her theatrical concern. Sophia had always been Thomas's golden child, his precious princess who could do no wrong. When she married that corporate lawyer Marcus and started producing grandchildren, Thomas showered them all with attention and gifts. Meanwhile, I was just the woman who organized dinner parties, managed the household staff, and kept everything running flawlessly behind the scenes. After the funeral, Sophia's visits became more frequent and more aggressive. She'd arrive with Marcus, armed with real estate brochures and retirement facility pamphlets, cornering me during what should have been family morning time. "Mother, these senior communities are absolutely wonderful," she'd say, sliding glossy brochures across my dining table. "They have yoga classes, book clubs, people your own age. You'd finally have zero responsibilities and could just relax." What she really meant was, no inheritance to complicate, no inconvenient mother to deal with, no obstacles between her and Thomas's fortune. The devastating blow came on a cold Tuesday morning. I'd been living in what Sophia now called the family estate for 7 weeks since Thomas's death, still unable to enter our master bedroom without breaking down. Sophia arrived unannounced with Marcus and a moving truck idling outside. "Mother, we need to discuss the situation," Sophia announced, walking past me like she owned the place, which, apparently, she believed she did. "Discuss what situation?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. Sophia exchanged a calculated glance with Marcus before turning back to me with cold eyes. "Mother, according to Father's will, I inherited everything. The estate, the investment portfolios, the offshore accounts, everything." The words struck me like a physical assault. "Sophia, that's impossible. Your father showed me the will. He would never what? Leave everything to his capable daughter, instead of his dependent wife." Her mask of sympathy had completely dissolved, revealing the ruthless woman underneath. "Father knew I'd manage his legacy properly. You never understood business, investments, or financial planning. You were just the wife who arranged flowers and hosted parties. Just the wife." 41 years reduced to a dismissive phrase. Marcus stepped forward, holding a folder of official-looking documents. "Eleanor, we've been patient, allowing you time to grieve, but Sophia needs to take possession of the property now. My firm is expanding, and this location is perfect for our needs. You're converting my home into office space," I whispered, unable to comprehend the cruelty. "It's not your home anymore, Mother," Sophia said sharply. "I've already hired contractors. The renovations begin next week. You need to find other accommodations immediately." That's when she delivered the final, crushing blow. "Pack your things and leave. This is my money now, and honestly, you're useless at this point anyway." I packed my life into 3 suitcases within 2 days. 41 years of marriage, memories, and identity compressed into luggage that barely fit in Marcus's Mercedes. Sophia watched from the grand staircase, checking her Cartier watch like I was making her late for a spa appointment. "There's a decent senior facility on Riverside Avenue," she offered with the enthusiasm of someone recommending a mediocre restaurant. "Very affordable. Monthly rates, I'm sure they have vacancies." Affordable? My daughter was inheriting $38 million and suggesting I move into what was essentially subsidized housing for impoverished elderly. Marcus loaded my suitcases with mechanical efficiency, avoiding eye contact. "Eleanor, you'll appreciate the freedom," he said robotically. "No more worrying about property taxes, maintenance costs, or security systems. No more home, he meant. As we drove away, I watched the Drake estate disappear in the side mirror, the Georgian mansion where I'd raised Sophia, nursed Thomas through his health scares, hosted countless charity galas. Now it would become Marcus's law firm, gutted and renovated into something unrecognizable. The Lakeview Motor Inn was everything you'd expect from a place charging $53 per night. Stained carpets, flickering lights, and walls thin enough to hear every conversation from neighboring rooms. Sophia handed me $300 in cash, like tipping a hotel porter. "This should cover you for a week while you figure things out," she said. "Marcus will transfer some funds once we finalize Father's estate paperwork, some funds from my own inheritance." The audacity was breathtaking. After they left, I sat on the sagging mattress in that depressing motel room, trying to process the nightmare my life had become. In less than 4 hours, I'd gone from grieving widow to homeless senior citizen, discarded by the daughter I'd sacrificed everything for. But as I sat there surrounded by my meager possessions, something nagged at me persistently. Thomas had been obsessively meticulous about legal matters, almost paranoid about proper documentation. He'd shown me our will 5 years ago, explaining every provision, ensuring I understood our wishes completely. And I was absolutely certain that's not what it said. Thomas had been many things: traditional, sometimes stubborn, occasionally condescending about financial matters, but he was never cruel. The man who'd held my hand through my father's death, who'd surprised me with weekend getaways for no reason, who'd called me his anchor, that man wouldn't have left me destitute. The next morning, I used the motel's unreliable Wi-Fi to search for Thomas's attorney. James Morrison had handled our legal affairs for over 20 years, our estate planning, business contracts, even Sophia's trust fund setup. His office was in downtown Chicago, a 40-minute bus ride that would cost precious cash, but something told me it was necessary. James Morrison's reception area was elegant yet welcoming, filled with dark wood and leather furniture. When his assistant announced that Mrs. Drake was here regarding her husband's estate, James appeared immediately, looking genuinely surprised. "Eleanor, my dear, I've been trying to reach you for weeks. I called the estate repeatedly, but Sophia said you were traveling abroad to process your grief." Traveling abroad? Another lie from my daughter's endless collection. "Mr. Morrison, I need to ask you about Thomas's will," I said, my voice barely steady. He looked confused. "Of course. Didn't Sophia provide you with your copy?" I gave her the original and multiple copies after the reading, specifically instructing her to deliver yours personally. My heart sank. "There was a reading, Eleanor. You were supposed to be there. Sophia claimed you were too emotionally fragile, that she'd handle everything and ensure you received your inheritance." His expression shifted from confusion to alarm. "She told me you'd agreed to let her manage the estate transition." "Mr. Morrison," I whispered, feeling the room tilt, "I was never informed about any reading. Sophia told me she inherited everything. She evicted me from my own home 3 days ago." James Morrison's face flushed with anger. He reached for a thick file with urgent, almost aggressive movements. "Eleanor, that's absolutely impossible. Your husband's will is extraordinarily specific about your inheritance." He pulled out the document, and I recognized Thomas's distinctive signature at the bottom, witnessed and notarized with official seals. As James began reading, I realized Sophia hadn't just lied, she'd constructed an elaborate fraud. "I, Thomas Edward Drake, being of sound mind and body, do hereby bequeath to my beloved wife, Eleanor Marie Drake, the following. Our primary residence at 1847 Lakeshore Drive, including all furnishings, artwork, and personal effects. Additionally, I leave her 75% of all financial assets, investment portfolios, and accounts, totaling approximately $28 million. My head was spinning. $28 million. The house, 75% of everything. James continued reading, his voice taking on an even more serious tone. "To my daughter, Sophia Marie Drake Hayes, I leave $10 million to be held in trust, with distributions beginning on her 43rd birthday, contingent upon her demonstrated respect and proper treatment of her mother following my death. Should Sophia fail to honor her mother with dignity, compassion, and honesty, this inheritance shall revert entirely to Eleanor." The room fell silent except for my ragged breathing. Thomas had known. Somehow, my husband had predicted exactly what Sophia would try to do. "Mr. Morrison," I managed to say, "Sophia told me I inherited nothing. She moved into my house. She gave me $300 and told me to find a senior facility. The elderly attorney's hands trembled with fury as he set down the document. Eleanor, what Sophia has done constitutes elder abuse, fraud, forgery, and theft. These are serious felonies. She could face 10 to 15 years in federal prison. But she had documents. She showed me official papers with seals and signatures. Forged. Almost certainly expertly forged, which means she had professional help. This wasn't impulsive, this was premeditated criminal conspiracy. He reached for his phone. We need to contact the authorities immediately. Wait, I said, my mind racing. There's more to the trust provision. James nodded grimly. Yes, the contingency clause is very clear. Since Sophia has failed spectacularly to treat you with respect, in fact, she's committed crimes against you. Her entire $10 million inheritance now reverts to you. You're not inheriting $28 million. Eleanor, you're inheriting $38 million, plus the estate and all personal property. The irony was so perfect, it was almost poetic. Sophia had been so consumed by greed that she'd triggered the exact clause designed to protect me from her cruelty. She'd literally stolen her own inheritance. What do I do now? I asked, my voice finally finding strength. James smiled, and for the first time since Thomas's death, I saw genuine warmth and justice in someone's eyes. Now, my dear, we contact the FBI about the fraud. Then we call Sophia and inform her that she's about to experience the shock of her privileged life. Can she fight this? Fight it with what resources? She's about to discover that every account she thought she controlled actually belongs to you. Every investment, every bank account, every asset frozen pending investigation. And Eleanor, he leaned forward intently, Thomas left you one more gift. A video message to be played only if Sophia violated the trust provisions. My hands shook as James set up his laptop. Thomas's face appeared on screen, recorded just months before his death. He looked tired but determined, his eyes filled with a sadness I now understood completely. Eleanor, my anchor, my love, Thomas began, his voice strong despite his frail appearance. If you're watching this, it means our daughter has proven me right in the worst possible way. I've spent the last year watching Sophia transform into someone I barely recognize, entitled, calculating, cruel. The way she speaks to you when she thinks I'm not listening. The way she discusses our estate like you're already dead and buried. It's broken my heart. Tears streamed down my face as Thomas continued. I've set up protections for you because I know you'd never protect yourself. You've spent 41 years putting everyone else first. Now it's your turn, my darling. Take this money and build the life you sacrificed for our family. The video ended, and I sat in stunned silence. Thomas had seen everything, understood everything, and protected me even from beyond the grave. Within 3 hours, James had assembled a task force. Detective Sarah Chen from the Financial Crimes Unit, a forensic accountant named David Park, and an FBI agent specializing in elder fraud named Robert Torres. They reviewed the forged documents Sophia had shown me, traced financial records, and built an airtight case. Mrs. Drake, Detective Chen explained, the forgeries are sophisticated, professional grade. This required connections and expertise. We believe Marcus, with his legal background, orchestrated this with Sophia's full cooperation. By 4 p.m., every account was frozen. Sophia's credit cards linked to what she thought were her inheritance accounts were declined. The contractors she'd hired for the estate renovations were informed the project was cancelled. My phone rang at exactly 4:47 p.m. Mother, where are you? Sophia's voice was sharp with panic. There's some ridiculous mistake with the bank accounts. They're saying Father's assets are frozen, and that you're claiming ownership. This is absurd. Hello, Sophia. I'm sitting in James Morrison's office. You remember him, don't you? Father's attorney. The one who conducted the will reading that I was supposedly too emotionally fragile to attend. Silence. Then, Mother, you're confused. The grief has obviously. I'm not confused, Sophia. I'm looking at the real will right now. The one where your father left me 75% of everything. The one with the contingency clause about treating me with respect. That's impossible, she hissed. I have the legal documents right here. You have forgeries, sweetheart. Beautiful, expensive, expertly crafted forgeries that are going to send you and Marcus to federal prison. Sophia was arrested that evening at an exclusive restaurant in downtown Chicago, celebrating what she thought was her inheritance with Marcus and their attorney friends. According to Detective Chen, She screamed about wrongful arrests and demanded to see her lawyer, who turned out to be Marcus's golf partner, with zero criminal law experience. Marcus was arrested at his law firm the next morning. The forensic investigation revealed he'd used his connections to create the forged documents through a network of corrupt legal professionals. Apparently, my son-in-law had quite the criminal history that Sophia either ignored or never knew about. 6 months later, I stood in my fully reclaimed estate, now redecorated to reflect my taste for the first time in 41 years. Sophia and Marcus each received 18-month federal sentences. The media coverage of their crimes made me an advocate for elder protection rights. I used $15 million to establish the Eleanor Drake Foundation for Elder Justice, funding legal aid for seniors facing family financial abuse. The rest, I'm living the life Thomas wanted me to have, taking art classes, traveling to places I'd only dreamed of, and finally putting myself first. Sophia wrote me 17 letters from prison. I read the first few, full of excuses and manipulation, before deciding some relationships, once shattered, can't be rebuilt with words alone. She was released last month and appeared at my door, looking broken and desperate. "Mom, please. I've lost everything. Can we start over?" I looked at the daughter I'd raised, seeing clearly now who she'd always been underneath the charm. "Sophia, you didn't lose everything. You threw it away when you chose greed over love, when you forged documents and called me useless. Some consequences can't be undone." She stood there crying, and for a moment I felt pity. But then I remembered Thomas's video, his sadness, his protection, his love. "Goodbye, Sophia," I said gently but firmly, and closed the door on that chapter of my life forever. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even, it's becoming everything they never thought you could be.